The Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council has successfully concluded wage negotiations for government workers, securing a majority agreement 84.3% following a 21-day consultation period. This was ahead of the planned delivery of the 2025-2026 budget speech by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, who had earlier on in the day admitted to challenges facing the fiscus that would affect capacitating the public sector.
We've had challenges in funding frontline services. Health, education, and so on. About 2 weeks ago, there was a march to my office by doctors and so on. As we speak, there's a threat of losing 19,000 teachers in KZN. Department of Correctional Affairs, as we speak, have got a challenge even with their current employment levels to even pay the existing employees. We've had a similar challenge with the defense. So I can go on and on.
The workers occupied the streets of Cape Town in a demonstration, with COSATU's Matthew Parks welcoming the postponement of the speech, saying in its current form it was anti-poor and would have devastating impact on the workers already struggling to navigate the cost of living.
The wage agreement is a reasonable wage agreement. Yes, it's slightly above inflation for this year. The next 2 years is pegged to inflation. And I think that's going to help also heal some of the wounds for public servants who have really been highly indebted and also did not receive an increase in 2018. And that meant that going forward, they're actually going backwards. They didn't receive inflation-linked increases as well for a couple of years after that. The key thing we need to do is to find revenue. We can do that. There are better options than VAT hikes. And also to see how to grow the economy. You address those two things, and I think things will improve significantly.
The General Industries Workers Union of South Africa, GEWUSA, says public servants were robbed in terms of the full implementation of Resolution 1 of 2018, where the employer reneged from the last leg of that agreement, hopeful that government would see the 5.5% multi-term agreement through. GEWUSA President Mametlo Sibei says the workers maintain their call for a pro-poor budget that will see austerity policies done away with.
There is about 500,000 public posts that need to be filled. We want them to be filled if we are to have a quality, free public services that working class people need and deserve in this country. And I think the money can be raised, right? The reality is, if you just take the corporate tax what it was at the time of apartheid, over 50%, right? And this is an apartheid regime whose mandate was to save the minority of the population. That tax has been cut by almost half. It was 28, 2-3 years ago, reduced to 27, and the DA wanted that tax to be reduced even further, and so are many right-wing parties that are part of the government of national unity.
Labour expert Mojale Famusi has called for a different approach to the budgeting process by National Treasury by ensuring that the views of social partners are included.
For the past 3 years, according to researchers, we've seen the cost of living going up by 40%. Right? That cannot be said about the earnings of workers, especially those that are struggling at the lowest ranks of the labour market, and those that are receiving support from the state. For that reason, I do think that it's back to the drawing board, and it calls for, in my view, a more participatory, a more democratic, a more open and transparent process of budgeting.
The revised budget will be presented on the 12th of March in Parliament, with the workers still hopeful for a relief. The public servants will soon convene for a signing ceremony that will solidify their acceptance of the multi-term agreement that starts at 5.5% for 2025. Katlego, Legodi, SABC News in Johannesburg.